Welcome to the Grateful Tap podcast, where we are exploring healing, inspiration, and rock and roll with your hosts, Deanna Lyons and yours truly, Steph Dodds. Thank you for hanging out with us today.
Welcome to the party.
All right. Welcome back to the Grateful Tap podcast. Both Steph and Deanna are here today, and we are experimenting. I had this silly idea. Might be silly, might be brilliant. We'll see as we go through
Right.
it today. As some of you don't know us, and so I thought it might be kind of cool to have we put some questions into Grok into some AI to like if you were going to interview some podcast hosts, what would you ask them? So as we go through today, I'm gonna ask a question, and then both Deanna and I are going to answer. And one part of the structure of our podcast is pulling a card. And so, right as we were starting just now, I pulled a card, and the card is from the Trust Your Vibes Oracle deck, and the card is Free Your Creativity. Free your creativity. And to me, this is really kind of cute and perfect because I just taught a workshop on creativity. I feel like I've tapped on creativity so much now that I have too many ideas and I have to like focus on staying grounded and doing one thing at a time. But this picture has this woman painting. She's got a flower. She's kind of looking like she's just not structured, just letting it be free. And I thought that was cute as we're moving through this podcast and thinking of ideas to share and how we want to approach it. So I feel like to me this card means like let it rip. Have fun. Free yourself to just participate. Is there anything you want to say about that, Deanna, before we jump
Well, what
into
caught my
it?
attention actually on the card was that the paint. There's a rainbow of she's got a rainbow and a flower and her uh, easel and paints and everything's kind of all over. But it was the that rainbow that caught my attention of ideas and light because I love, love, love using light in my practice. And I believe that as form comes down, it comes down in sound and in light before it actually becomes this mug. And so I think that's why the rainbow of her creativity, when, it just, that's what caught my attention. And then also the freedom of her body, kind of just moving and letting it flow. And that's what we're doing with this experiment of doing this podcast. Like Steph and I really were just like, wouldn't it be fun to bring you in with us and share what we do behind the scenes with each other on a regular basis? And that's it's we sort of really don't know what's going to happen. There's a bunch of colors, and we're going to have some freedom and see what happens. And here we are.
And we are exploring and letting people get to know us a little bit of all the colors of us. And
Right.
that leads me into our first question. So this one wasn't generated. This was just something that I came through with me of just like what, because I love getting to know people. I love, and so I'm like, Deanna, if someone's getting to know Deanna in the essence of Deanna, what is something that someone would get to know? Like what would they learn by getting to know you, and what's something you'd want them to like get about you?
It's such an interesting question, and I guess I kind of just can't help but be me. I mean, we all have a mask when we're um, in business and in public, and we have a persona that we share with others, and maybe there are things that when we're not in a public place or with others that we might not necessarily put out, and that's okay. Um, but I'm kind of what you see is what you get. And I I think when I was a little girl, I sort of learned that lying was just way too hard. I was going to get caught and I was going to have to figure out how to do, how to fix my stories. And it was just way more complex than it was to just fess up and tell the truth and deal with whatever the repercussions were. And then over the course of my lifetime, it wasn't about necessarily all about bad repercussions, but it was just a good way to live life. And so I think that drives what you do see in me, whether it's behind the scenes or it's in public. I'm going to be who I am, and I want you to be who you are. And we can be, friendly freaks together. you know, because I don't want you to be something you're not or someone that you're not. And I'm not going to be someone or something that I'm not. And from that place, we're going to have a lot more fun and a lot more honesty. And we're going to be able to do things that we want to do instead of spending time trying to figure out how to, make up for some other story that I've told. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I love knowing you and getting to know you
Yeah.
all the time.
Thank you. So can I ask you the same question?
Yeah, it is. Some of these questions are hard already. Um, I feel like I'm a little, I feel like I'm also like you get what you get, but I feel like what I like want people to get about me is I think especially from doing EFT work is that I love or what I want is your authentic self. Like I want to be someone who I want people to feel around me or get that you're 0% too much. Like your truth and your authenticity is like what I want and what I want to connect on. And um, I also want people to know that I am a safe space for you to celebrate your like good stuff. I don't want you to hold back your celebration because I don't think everyone's a safe space for like, hey, can I share something with you? But ever since I was young, my dad taught us if he was a teacher and a principal and I've seen him teach like a group of kids this, but whenever you do something good, you scrunch up your chin like this and go, yeah, I did that. And you kind of get this look of like, I did that. And that's okay to feel good about myself doing that. So I feel like, I really feel like that's authentic to me. Like if you knew me, you would know that you're not too much,
Yeah.
and like I want your real authentic self and I'm a safe space to celebrate your wins with.
Yeah.
You don't have to hold that back.
Yeah, so you don't have to hold any of it back. And I think
Yeah.
that's part of what's brought us together as friends and as colleagues is that, Steph has made me laugh and we play and we have a great time, but she can also get the snot out of me and we can cry and we can, get real with whatever's going on. And then again, at the end of the day, um, let's celebrate. And that I definitely have been the beneficiary of that.
Okay. Awesome.
What's our next question,
Next
Steph?
question. What was the spark for this podcast? Maybe we answer that together, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think the spark for the podcast I mentioned a little bit earlier was that we have been doing some practices together daily or mostly daily. We're not always perfect at it, but we text each other most days. And then we would collaboratively talk about work and we would work on each other. We would trade sessions and help each other out in those ways. And we were having such a good time. We were like, hey, wouldn't it be kind of cool to bring other people in on some of this and share the goodness? Because I think we both have come so far in our personal development journey and we feel so much better about ourselves and about life in general. And we both are spreaders of that kind of light and love, literally and figuratively. So we thought that doing it we could do this on a podcast and bring others in. And then I think we might have said it in a different podcast episode, but I don't think it hurts to repeat it. When we had this idea and we got together for the first time to actually like start doing it, this giant grasshopper landed on the window. And so that's where the grasshopper came from, is this leap of faith, leap of ideas, uh, and so we have our little hoppy in our logo from that day.
Absolutely. And I would just reflect and mirror on what you said. I will never forget because we met in an EFT training and we've done trades and swaps and I love having someone to kind of debrief with, and I feel like that's something we have built in with teaching for Tapping the Matrix Academy and having some community around this work. It's like, hey, I got stuck with a client here, or hey, this is kind of, I'm struggling with this, and I just remember us talking through these things. Like this is really valuable, or sharing the nuggets that we're learning about ourselves, about life, about the experience. And so I feel like that kind of beautifully morphed into like, yeah, our daily practice of pull a card, do the lumen, and then it's like, what nugget did you get out of this? And so I think for our listeners, we're gonna, pull a card every episode and like share and tap and get the nugget. And it's like, how can you carry that on? And we both happen to really love Greta Van Fleet and music. And that's like a part of our evolution, really, is the music. And so that kind of tapped tapped in to like the spirit of the podcast too. It was like, hey, it's our podcast. We could talk about whatever the heck we want. Let's talk about going to see Greta Van Fleet. The concert, So, yeah. Okay, great. Next question. In the quiet spaces between these episodes, how do you use these tools in real life?
Well, now the mask comes on. Do you want to know when and where? I it's now just a part of my life. I really truly use these tools somehow or another, different ones, but every day, things happen. They show up and kind of interrupt how you feel, and some days are better than others. And then also to celebrate, like you were saying, it's not all about the negative, it's also about now celebrating. And I think that's, again, I think part of the evolution. Like before, it was all about, oh, I got to figure this stuff out. And there's still that goes on. But there's also the other side of like, how can I? So I find in the early morning and at night are where I probably do the most regular, tapping and or somatic experiencing work around myself, so that I can process the day or get ready for the day. And then also when I can tell I'm really out of it, like all of a sudden I'm realizing I'm getting really emotional about something. Now it comes to mind to tap. And that took a long time in the heat of the moment, to remember to tap. It often came after the fact. But now it's happening more and more while I'm in the middle of something, to be able to. So I also can't say that I do it perfectly and that I do it, in every situation. But I definitely do it a lot, and I do it for.
Love it. And I would concur on that too, and just build off of your answer. I feel like for me, it's a practice, not a perfect.
Right.
Like it is a daily practice. Now, tapping is a part of my practice. I try to tap every day. Before it was like, oh, tap once a week or once a month whenever you have a problem. But I do feel like it's good energy hygiene to kind of tap away stuff that is disturbing the peace, causing what's that like? there's something, a force in the field. If there's something in your field that's not helping you, it's good to tap on it. But so now I was just thinking about this the other day. I've been doing this for 9 years, and I still reach out to a friend or tapping colleague for a session. And I've really used it in every area of my life, with my health, with my relationships, with my money, with my, just inner peace, stress. I don't think it's the end all be all for everything. I think we need all the tools, but now it really is the first thing I think of when it's like, oh, I'm stuck in this problem, or someone else is stuck, and it's like, oh, just tap, duh. Like to me, it really is. It's such a simple technique, but it can be a profound effect. And even if it's like, oh, it doesn't get us there, it opens the door to more of our faculties. And now it is part of me in a way that it's, yeah, my go-to practice. I dance, I meditate, I tap. So it is the quiet spaces between are filled with this. Not perfect every day, but it's just I heavily rely on the technology of tapping really for anything. And I like pairing it with other stuff. So yeah, I feel like both of us are walking our walking our talk, or I know I am. And I get
Yeah.
a lot out of this practice of, yeah, for myself and for other people.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's what I love about tapping and SE both are that they bolt on to all different kinds of things. So it's you can, mix and match and use them in different ways. And the way that it's built to where we use it regularly is just that it's over time and practice and sharing and being reminded. You know,
Mhm.
we still, remind each other, hey, something's coming up and we might be talking about it on the phone. And it's like, and are you tapping? Oh, I forgot about that.
Oh
Let me,
yeah.
let me do that.
And I
Yeah.
think we do forget about that with ourselves, because I have a friend who's like an essential oil goddess, and she was having something going on. I'm like, oh, have you used an oil for that? And she's like, oh yeah, because it's like our own thing. And I was stuck, and she's like, have you tapped on that? I'm like, oh yeah. Like we forget when it's us with somebody else. It's like, oh yeah, do this, you're good. Okay, ready for next question?
Yeah.
If you were to tap EFT tap on a limiting belief, as we know, we can use it for emotions or beliefs. If you had a limiting belief about the podcast, what would you tap on?
I think I'm going to ask you to go first on this one, if
Yeah.
that's
A couple things popped into my head. One of it's safe to be seen. It's safe to be seen.
right.
Safe to be heard, or just being, like I am seen or I am heard. I think there's an element of I have something of value to say or share. Personally, I love to listen. I think I was born to listen. I think my spiritual assignment on this planet is to be a sacred witness. So it is hard for me. I personally rather listen to a podcast than be be the one talking. So to me, it's like there would be something in of like this wisdom, this practice, this experience. How do we get it from here through the portal to share to where it makes sense, to where it's valuable? And this might be a little silly, but even in our training, we tap on the belief. I never know what to say to people. We've tapped on that as one of our belief exercise things. So, um, yeah, I think some of those would be good to tap on.
Yeah.
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 And opening it up to whatever's in our blind spot that, we don't know about, allowing that to come in.
Yeah, because like I say, it's kind of scary to put yourself out there in this way because I guess I don't know, I'm trying to think about it as a limiting belief per se, but maybe that people would misunderstand something that we say or some way that we are. And, we would never want that to happen, or would we want to hurt anyone and knowingly for sure. That's probably my biggest worry about putting ourselves out there. And yet, I think, and I hope that people that enjoy listening to us will listen to us, and people that don't will just skip on to the next because there's a lot of really other great places they can.
Yeah. Okay, ready for the next one? Who, it's kind of a two-parter, so just pick whichever part you want. Who is a rock and roll icon or a song that embodies the spirit of our podcast and why? And or what are you listening to right now?
Well, we're going to do an episode on this one song from Greta Van Fleet called Broken Bells. And I obviously love Greta Van Fleet. For those of you that are just listening, there's a poster from one of my many concerts that I've gone to see them. And they just brought me back to life with music, kind of reviving the music of my teen years. But I think in my humble opinion, I think it's better, and some people would disagree with that, and that's okay. I just, art is art, and it's an art form that I appreciate. But the song "Broken Bells," there's so much in that song about how things that you thought were where you were broken, there's actually, a flower that grows up through the crack and, you know, and lives and sings, broken bells will ring and they will sing and shine in ways that maybe were unimaginable in the deepest and darkest times of your lives. And I think that, feels reminiscent to my journey and in growing and learning about myself and now sharing with. And I'm listening to all kinds of other fun, cool artists these days. Greta hasn't been putting anything new out. Hopefully there'll be some new things, but of course, uh, the spinoff with Mirador and Jake Kiska, who is the lead guitarist, who's my favorite musician, and I just enjoy his music. But there's also the Red Clay Strays. There's Joe Bonamassa. There's um, Grace Potter. There are the Government Mule. I mean, there's all kinds of fun artists that are out there, and I've not even named half of them that I'm opening up my play.
We should make a Grateful Tap playlist
That would be fun.
on Spotify. And then songs that we talk about on here, we'll add it to there so our listeners can find them easier.
That's a great idea.
We should do that.
We should definitely do that.
That is the perfect example of why we started the podcast, is because when we're talking together, magic flows, ideas come, and we're like, we should like save this or yeah. So yeah. Okay, so I'm glad we got that
We got that.
started.
That's what we're gonna add that to the task
Yeah,
list.
ask that. So look out for that. We're gonna start a Grateful Tap playlist so you can check out the songs and not have to like dig for them. So I will second that of like, it just happens to be another Greta Van Fleet song, but it is my favorite. And we talked about this with my brother on the podcast too, but the Meet Your Master song, that song just vibrates my soul. Like I don't know what happens when I listen to it. I like go into another dimension, and this is what I love about art is that you don't know if he's singing about God or his lover, but the meet your master for me and like to the tone of what we're working on is kind of meeting your higher self of your higher spiritual self because we are our own guru. So to me, that song does like embody what we're talking about of like the learning, the growing, the crying, the breaking through the broken bell, the real stuff that, not everybody wants to talk about. We happen to do it for fun. There was one point that I think we were gonna name the podcast Having Fun with Trauma because
Right.
that is what we're doing. You know, we're shining a light on all this like dark stuff and then it's not so scary. So to me that song and what I've been listening to lately is I found some playlists on Spotify of like positive affirmation like songs and I found that there's this new, I don't know if this is new or not, but it's new to me of these like female hip hop rap artists that are like rapping like I am awesome and my bank account is flowing and I'm beautiful. And it's just like putting all these positive messages into the songs. And I was listening to that last night as I was cleaning the house. And one song in particular, that I Am Woman song, and she's just talking about like everything that she is. And I just get into it. I listened to it like 5 times in a row last night when I was cleaning. And I have my thing, I call it like my chick music, that when my sweetie's not home, I like unapologetically just blare my like favorite stuff that not everybody would rock out to, but for me, I get into it. And so I've been kind of getting into my chick music, if you will, lately. And that feels really good. And I like women rock voices and I don't know, I like girl singers. So I feel like I've been leaning into that lately of like Joan Jett of rock and roll, or like just I don't I do have a playlist on of like girls. I think my playlist is called GP, like girl power. So I get into that too. So that's what I've been listening to lately.
That's great.
Okay, next question. Looking ahead, this is kind of funny how I wrote it. Looking ahead, what's a bold rock star level evolution you envision for the podcast?
It just took that question took my breath away. It's like rock star.
Oh, maybe we
Like
should
I
tap
can't like
on
listen to
that.
my voice. Maybe there's some limiting beliefs in there.
Maybe there's some tapping we can do. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I try not to think about too big because then when I go too big, then I get scared. I kind of freak out about it. So I think I'm just happy to be like the rock stars hanging out in in the bars and just, singing to a handful of people. And then they slowly grow, over time. Next thing you know, they're playing to a couple hundred people and then they play to, a couple, 1,500. And, so I guess I'm looking for the natural growth and evolution of our podcast to see what happens as we attract the people that are inspired by what we share.
totally. I totally feel you on that. And I honestly, when I talk into a camera or on Zoom or teach on Zoom, I don't get real nervous. I could talk into the camera. To me, I just pretend like, I don't know, it goes to the ether and I don't have to worry about it again. Talking live in front of 10 people, I will be sweating and shaking, and you can't tap on public speaking. And I probably need to do more of that. But for us, just talking, I kind of forget that anyone would ever listen to us. I kind of forget that, I don't know. So to me, I'm just talking to my buddy and we're having fun. And, um, and I feel like I can share more authentically that, like, if I'm teaching a class for one person, I used to really worry about that. Maybe I tapped on that at some point of like, if nobody watches or nobody cares or whatever. And now I'm like, oh, great. I only have one person. This is perfect. Then I won't get nervous and I can be myself and I can share the story. So for me, I guess my vision, rock star level vision is us having fun, um, being our rock star selves. And if anybody else wants to come, great. And I just hope that you and I can just have fun, playing air guitar, or like last time we got together, before we started recording, Deanna and I were talking about this. Like, Deanna has a rebounder and a vibe plate, and we were playing around on those, and I got so into it that now I have my own rebounder and vibe plate. It's like that's the gift of sharing. Like, if somebody gets one like tool or one like thing that they do now for their own self-care, I think that's rock star level shit.
Yeah,
I do. And
yeah.
I think self-care is pretty rock star because you have to like be a rebel sometimes to make that a priority.
To choose you.
To choose you is pretty edgy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
So I feel like that's kind of like us. That's like some rock star shit.
yeah. And that's where then, your friends and your fans can sing along with you. Because
Mm.
part of being a rock star isn't just being on the stage, it's being in the vibes with your buddies on stage as well as the people who are really enjoying.
Okay, I just had another idea for another episode. Is at some point we should just wear outfits we feel like rock stars in. Wouldn't that be a fun episode?
That would be a fun episode.
Tuning into Rockstar energy. How to tap first, getting into your own Rockstar energy.
All right, I'm putting it down.
Okay, put it on the list. So, well,
And that's probably a good idea. If you're listening, if you've come this far in this episode, and if you have ideas for episodes, drop us a note because we have a list and we'll add it to it. And when we get a chance, we'll record.
and thank you all for listening today. I hope you learned a little bit about Deanna and I and got a little bit of insight into the spark behind this and want to join us. And so, if you want to support us, all the things like follow, share, if you feel like it could help someone. Um, yeah, I probably shouldn't say this right now, but one of my favorite podcasts at the end, they say, "Don't be a hoe, share the show." We can cut that out if we need to, but we'll have to think of our own playful way to say it.
Right.
But it's, like that's the only fee. We don't advertise.
Yeah,
We don't, or, or have paid advertisements. And so that's the only fee. If you get something out of this, that's a good way to the sacred reciprocity of paying back if you feel called for that. So thank you
yeah.
so much for tuning in today and learning a little bit more about us.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing you again next time. Ready to start your own life-changing journey with EFT? Check out the links below. Steph and I have all kinds of great offerings, and those get updated, so you'll be able to find whatever we have coming up in the links in the show notes, as well as how to follow us on social media and our websites. And hey, also, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode to help us spread the word of the Grateful Tap podcast. It helps us and it helps others, and we sure appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you again soon.